I don't even know, man. Welcome to chess, ladies and gentlemen. All right, man, I appreciate you guys very much for stopping by. So I did go ahead and grab the game. Hikaru Nakamura versus Nepomniachtchi. And this is the Blitz game they played number 3. So I don't know if you guys have caught the action at all, but this is what they just got done playing just a little while ago. So, of course, all my people from the Philippines, I will say Maraming Salamat. Anybody who is coming from Russia, because that's where Nepomniachtchi is from, I will say Bashoya Spasiba. But, man, if you guys are ready to go, let's take a look and see what we got for this game. All right, man, so we got knight to f3, the move that's never, ever played. No, I'm playing. But you guys always know that it pretty much transposes into almost every single time some other kind of game. So it's kind of like a waiting move to kind of see what black wants to do. We do see the move d5. We got d4. We got knight to f6. We got c4. And we do see the move e6. So we do have the queen's gambit declined on the board. The most heavily played chess opening in chess. No, I'm playing. But it's nice. I mean, if you want to have a good, solid opening defense as black, this is definitely one good way to go. We do see the move e3. Now, some of you guys might be noticing that play d4 or who play against d4, that white is specifically choosing this move order to make sure that they do not get into the Nimzo Indian, which, I mean, the Nimzo Indian is not so horrible. I mean, you're going to be putting knight here, the bishop is going to be coming here, and you might have double pawns, but, I mean, you are going to be getting rid of that weakness at some point, so it's not all bad, but some people just do not like playing against it. We got bishop going to e7, we got bishop to d3, we got castles by black, castles by white. We got the move c5. Now, when you have a d4, d5 pawn lock, this is going to always be something that you want to play either as white or black, just to try to chip away at what your opponent has established. Black has this and white has this, and white has just too good of a pawn center, homie. You can't let them just have their cake and eat it too. So we do see c5. We got pawn taking c5, pawn taking c4, bishop taking c4, bishop taking c5. And then we do see the move a3. And I think a lot of you guys you guys are kind of seeing, like, what are we doing with a3? Basically, we're going to be pushing b4 at some point in the future. This bishop is actually too well placed on this diagonal, even though you kind of have, like, some pawns kind of blunting its, force. But, it's just not where we want their bishop to be at. So we do see the move b6. We got queen sidestepping over to e2, bishop b7. Now we have the move b4, and it does force black to choose kind of where do they want to put their bishop. Probably it's best in most cases just to go back to e7. You kind of can leave the c and d files clear for the rooks and queens, stuff like that. So we do see that in this position. We got rook going over to d1. It is never bad to put a rook opposite a queen, as you guys hear me say all the time. We do see knight b to d7, just covering that up. Bishop goes to b2. And then we do see the move a5, and this is the novelty of the game. But it actually makes a lot of sense. If you allow white to completely get developed, get the rook over here, and, continue to push pawns, stuff like that, gain more space, you would be looking at being a little bit cramped. So because you have caught white in a very specific spot, a5 is actually pretty well timed because you don't really have so let's say, for example, bishop goes to c3, you would be seeing pawn taking, and then this rook would be taking on a1, forcing the bishop back, and then you would be dropping a pawn. So you don't want that to be the case. So like I said, because this knight is not developed anywhere yet, you don't have your rooks connected, you do kind of have some issues in your position. So Nepomniachtchi definitely strikes at the right exact moment. And then we do see b5. You don't really generally want to make this move. It's not the absolute best move in the position. But, I mean, you kind of have to, something has to give. Because like I said, I mean, you have too many threats kind of going on there if you are white. So we do see queen going to c7, adding some pressure to bishop c4. We got knight b to d2, rook a to c8, but then we follow that up with rook a to c1. And we basically have done the same thing over again. We have put this rook opposite a queen. So usually when you're playing your games, when you find an opportunity to put a rook opposite a king or a queen, there's not a lot of situations where that's not like a good idea. Because, you usually produce some tactics when you have that going on. Like right now, if the queen just doesn't move, you got some bishop, possibly taking e6. You can really move this bishop anywhere and you are attacking this queen. So you're forcing the queen in kind of a predicament. So we do see the queen sidestepping that, going to b8. We do see queen down to e1, which might look funny, but we are clearing the way for a bishop to e2. We got the rook f to d8, and then we do see bishop going to e2. Knight going to c5. We got knight up to c4. And this is somewhat of a tender point for black. So, I mean, you know, that's why we moved to c4, trying to see if we can maybe undermine it a little bit. You know, if we can get rid of this pawn is probably going to be falling very soon after. So black has to make sure that they are taking care of that. So we do see bishop going to d5. And this is protecting this pawn. It's also kind of plugging up this file, so making this rook a little bit less effective. We got knight f to e5. Knight goes back f to d7. We see bishop to f3. Knight takes, and then not the most natural move to take back. We actually see bishop taking e5, but this is hitting the queen. Now, knight taking e5 is just a little bit more accurate, but there is some positives to the move bishop takes e5. Sometimes you choose a move based on, let's say, for example, like your opponent has like 2 or 3 possibilities if you know, take this move. So let's just take this one, for example, here. Like I said, knight to e5, possibly maybe going bishop takes and then knight up to c6 probably is a better idea, correct? But in this position here, we have bishop taking e5. And so you're basically asking the queen, you know, the knight and the bishop are holding this square. So you don't have any way to really block this situation. So you're going to have to move this queen somewhere. And you really kind of only have 2 options. So I believe that Hikaru is choosing this move specifically because you basically have a choice between 2 separate moves. So it kind of streamlines like your options. Knight taking e5 probably gave black, you know what, like 6 or 7 options or something like that. So he's just trying to simplify it a little bit. And you have the move that we saw in the game, which is queen to b7, which is the absolute best. But you also have queen to a7, which is not so accurate. You know, you have situations, like I said, where sometimes, I mean, if you're choosing between 3 or 4 moves, you might like basically only have one really legitimately good move. And then all the other moves pretty much put you in a worse position. So, you know, it's good to try to choose those types of situations. But we do see queen to b7. We got queen going up to e2, knight going down to b3, hitting the rook on c1. We got the rook up to c3. We got the move a4. And this isn't, it's not a bad move, but you do have to be careful doing this with your pawns because you see that black has just separated their pawns. Something that white did a little bit earlier, so it's not quite ideal when you have one pawn further extended and the next pawn, you know, hopefully protecting it is not protecting it so well. But we do see bishop taking d5, pawn taking d5. We see queen up to g4, and this is always a nice threat because maybe black is tired and they're just like, oh, I don't see the checkmate threats. But we do see the move g3. Jan is like, bro, I'm not that tired, son. So we do see knight going down to b2. We got knight up to c5. We see knight taking a4. Gift me the pawn. d4, gift me another pawn. Like, bro, why are you giving me all your pawns, homie? You know, the crazy thing is the computer is like, this is dead drawn. I mean, 0 humans are going to look at this position and say, oh, yeah, this is dead drawn. Like, white is like, I mean, just dead drawn with black. No, because you're literally down 2 pawns. The one issue that you do have to pay attention to, and it is relevant, is the fact that you are actually back rank mated in some situations if you are white, because you can see that, you know, you are kind of, you know, back ranked here. So you definitely have to make sure that you are paying attention to that type of stuff there. We do see the move h5, and we do see the move queen going to f4 in the game. But a very honorable mention move is understanding that you are up 2 entire pawns and just saying, hey, bro, let's trade queens. So most likely probably what black is going to do is try everything but trading. You know, if you trade down in this position, you're just pretty much going to go into trades and that is not favoring you. So you probably would see like queen to a7, rook would take, you know, bishop would take, we got knight taking, pawn taking, and then queen to d5. Now, there's no way to completely avoid any trades, but putting queens off the board is going to give white a definitely much superior endgame. But, I mean, this is completely won in this position. So that is why queen to f3 is definitely like a good idea. But like I said, we see queen to f4. We do see the move g5. Knight takes c5, pawn takes c5, and then we actually see after rook takes d8, we check rook takes d8. We do see queen to f3, and this is kind of having that same idea, but the actual problem is you actually are not in a good position to execute this move right here. So, we have reached a point in the game. There is a killer blow. And this is a really, really cute move that Nepomniachtchi actually finds in the game. So if you want to pause the video and try to guess that move, go ahead and do so. Okay, so it's a move that kind of looks a little bit weird. If you found it, then, I mean, I don't even know what to say to you. You're like, I mean, pretty insane. But the move is actually queen to e4. Which looks like a misclick. You're like, wait a minute, didn't you try to take queen takes f3? No, you didn't. Queen to e4 is an absolutely beautiful move because, like I mentioned before, something that should have been in your head, that you do have bank rake issues if you are white. So this rook is very ready to come down on d1. So what better thing to do than to place not only a double attack, but to try to deflect white's queen from the protection of that square. So, you know, you have the queen currently attacking this bishop on e5. And you cannot absolutely take this because you would be looking at rook to d1, and that is back rank mate. So you really don't have a lot of good options here in this position. We actually see Hikaru go the move h4, but he decides that he doesn't want it. So he goes ahead and resigns in this position here. Basically, I mean, you know, black is just going to go ahead and do this right here, and then you're down an entire piece. And that is the problem that you have when you do have back rank issues. So if there's one thing that you want to try to do with your game, it's not have any back rank issues, man. So that is that game. Like I said, game number 3, Blitz game they played. But I appreciate everybody very much for stopping by. Maraming salamat sa king makaibigan po sa nanonood ng king mga video. Bolshoye spasiba for anybody coming from Russia. And I'm going to see everybody next time.